Our top scientists now believe that this may be the cosmic egg laid by the cosmic chicken.
Sir, that's a golf ball.
No one asked for your opinion.
It's not an opinion, sir. It's objective fact.
Oh, all objective, your opinion! Hello and welcome to this exciting episode of Backyardia Science. Today is going to be a good one. How good? Stoic veterans of the third Yardian wave are weeping for joy. So let's jump right into it. Quarrel spine and crossbows. Some people insist that ammunition shot out of a crossbow should be called a bolt, because some of the ancients called ammunition shot from crossbows bolts. Other people say they should be called arrows because they look an awful lot like arrows. I say we should go with quarrels because the ancients also called them quarrels, and they are also shot out of crossbows. And, well, I don't mean to pick a quarrel with anyone, but I'm going to be intermittently and interchangeably calling ammunition shot from a crossbow arrow, bolt, and quarrel. And if you have a problem with that, in archery, we have arrows, and those arrows have a spine number. A high spine is a very flexible arrow. A very low spine is a inflexible arrow. The spine is determined by putting the arrow across a couple of supporting points, putting a weight on it, and the distance the arrow flexes is the spine number. So a big flex gives it a high number, and a theoretical perfect arrow would have 0 flex. You set it up so that the arrow will flex enough to bend around the riser and then go in a straight line. You have other things you can do with something like this. You can have your follow through, move the bow a little bit out of the way. So this is a little less sensitive to that. I find that using a very stiff arrow works because if I do the follow through correctly, everything goes well. Other risers have adjustable centering positions.
So quick addendum, this is an example of an adjustable riser. You adjust this screw in and out. So if you had a really flexible arrow, you'd have it move it out a little further, more rigid, you'd go closer to center. But that is a way you would adjust the riser to your arrow.
The deck of the crossbow isn't offset like that at all. It's pretty much the string is on top of the deck, and there's really nothing for it to bend around. This has, well, you can draw it and you can sight in the scope, and that's about it. This isn't usually a huge issue. You get some quarrels, you sight them in, and you're good to go. But then you go and put a broadhead on it, and then as it's flexing one way or the other, the broadhead catches air and it starts to direct the arrow away from where you want to go. This has led a lot of people, because of the limited tuning ability of crossbows, to go to mechanical broadheads, something that will hit where their field point went and yet do the damage they want to do when it reaches the target. And so my hypothesis is that the ideal spine for something you shoot out of a crossbow would be actually a 0 spine. So let's head out to the field and see if we can tease out the difference between a wet noodle of a bolt out of a crossbow and see if we can actually get better results with a more rigid piece of ammunition. Let's go to the field. So the idea is that a rigid arrow with a low spine number is going to do better when you sight it in with field points and then switch over to broadheads than a very flexible one. The idea being this is going to flex, and the air moving over the broadhead is going to redirect it. If you're doing a regular bow, you have a lot of options for tuning the riser. You can tune the arrows more easily. With crossbows, you kind of get this, and there's very little you can actually adjust on the bow itself. And so that the real cheat, if you will, to making everything work out is to just go with the most rigid one you can. My target is 20 paces, should be very close to 20 yards. So I'll do 3 one-shot groups with this arrow, and we'll see what we get. Not going to make you watch me do all the shots. I'll just put the camera down there and you can see what the shots look like.
This is the third shot. The first two are right here. I deliberately aimed to the side of the bullseye so I didn't blast this hole all the way through and wreck the fletchings any worse than they already are going to be.
So now we'll do field point aimed with a high spine arrow. I expect this will have a point of impact shift just with the different spine, but I don't know where it's going to be just yet.
And there's shot number 3, deviating a bit from the others.
Here are the patterns. There's the Black Eagle Zombie Slayers, hitting about right. These are the ones I used to zero the crossbow. The deviation was me very deliberately trying to not hit that same hole again. Our cheap Korean arrow went and hit very close in the first two spots, and the third one is a nasty flyer. I was using the same arrow each time. Don't know why it deviated like that, but that's the cheap one. So now I'm going to throw a broadhead on this. To use a VPA 3-blade, it's one of the wider 3 blades you can get, and it should allow for the greatest difference to come out as naturally as it can. Let's see what this does. So have our VPA 3-blade. This is like, I think it's an 1.125" cutting diameter. The reason we're going over all this is a lot of people like to go to mechanicals. And, you know, mechanicals float your boat. They float your boat. They're easier to sight in because, once again, you don't have a whole lot of tuning options. So hopefully, if this works out as well as I hope, we can use non-mechanicals, which is what I would prefer to use. Let it go. Pretty much dead center and blew all the way through the target. I think I can safely say I should have covered these up with pasties. So to get this out, let's remove the sharpened pointy bit. I'm just going to do one more with the Black Eagle Zombie Slayer. If it hits dead center again, I'm going to call this good to go. And then we'll try the wet noodle. Don't see any of the pasties, but it is poking out the back pretty much in the center. So if there was any deviation at all, it was just a smidge over to the left. So far, the Black Eagle Zombie Slayer has been a complete success. Wet noodle. This already deviated just from its own inconsistencies. I expect that, so if I hit in exactly the same spot as I did earlier with it, then it would just mean I would need a separate zero. But I strongly expect that I'm going to possibly even miss the entire target, which will be a big shame if I lose or damage my next broadhead. So if I miss, this is going to be the last shot of the day. I did hit it. Okay. And there is where we hit. So our point of impact shifted from here and here away down to here. I'm going to give the wet noodle here one more attempt to redeem itself, which it's already pretty well lost it. Yeah, so it missed the entire target this time, 20 yards, and still couldn't make it. Okay, so there you have it. The more rigid Zombie Slayer arrow was significantly more consistent. Our ultra-flexible wet noodle wasn't even consistent when it was just a field point. However, the Zombie Slayers did quite well throughout. One of the things that really annoys me is that The spine for these is never advertised anywhere. I had to go searching around and find someone else who said, okay, we spined it and this is what we found. The spine number isn't something that sells. When you're looking at a crossbow, the velocity and the kinetic energy are the numbers that sell. So those are the ones you find, but there's, what mass the arrow that you sent downrange. What about that? That's kind of important. If you send a soda straw downrange at 1,000 feet per second, yeah, it might have a high velocity and a high kinetic energy, but it's not the right mass to do what you want it to do when it gets there. Thankfully, you can do the math and figure out what the mass is, but they're always kind of cheeky like that because kinetic energy and velocity cells, those are the ones you see, but momentum and mass are also important numbers as well, but they don't sell anything. Spine sells arrows, but doesn't sell bolts for crossbows. And it's a bit unfortunate. People need to get on that and actually allow people to figure out what they want, because this cheap carbon that I see floating about was giving me all sorts of headaches all the time. And I thought, well, I need to tune my arrows, but how do you tune them for the crossbow? This is not a premium crossbow. It's not like I'm shooting some, $3,000 Raven or 10-point. This, when I bought it, was $200. I think it may have originally retailed for like $500, somewhere in there. But $200 on clearance. Nothing on this is premium. The thing that is more important, the more important part of your setup is good ammunition. In the event you have a crossbow and you want to know what to do with it, I recommend you get some good ammunition for it, and happy hunting. Thank you all for watching.
I've been surrounded! I used to say I have a chip on my shoulder. I say differently.